Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video, and this is a really nice little thing that we've got here. So hopefully you have seen. If you haven't, please go watch. I recently did a collab video with ShySky over on Digital Bloodlines channel, another very talented witch YouTuber. It was super fun to get to talk to her. We decided to do a video discussing our thoughts on the reboot. We had a lot to say, mostly positive. We weren't trashing it because we actually both quite like the reboot. So if you haven't seen that, please go watch it. If you want to hear my thoughts on the reboot, that is where you will find them. It was super fun, really nice to get to chat, and just really fun to get to talk to a fellow witch fan because, you know, I don't have a lot of fellow witch fans to talk to in real life, so really nice to get to sit down and just chat about my favourite thing with someone who actually knows what I'm talking about. But we were on the call for such a long time, as it turned out, because we just were having so much fun chatting. So if you go over to Digital Bloodlines, you can get the video with our thoughts on the reboot, and if you stick around here right now, you'll get a little 15-minute chat about the franchise in general, when we just sort of went off topic after we'd finished talking about the reboot, and we're just chatting about our experiences with Witch, the differences between how the series was published in the UK versus the US, our obsession with buying everything witch related that ever comes up on eBay, and just generally talking about our lives as witch fans. So yeah, give it a watch, and I will be back soon with something. If you read the first issue, I suppose there is elements of it that are quite dated now, like the whole thing about Winterani is shocked that Will has a cell phone.
Oh yeah.
It's probably, you might, if you're like a teenager now, just be like, how old is this? Like, imagine not having a cell phone. That's so weird.
Oh yeah. Even the floppy
Maybe just like
disk.
put off right from the bat. Yeah, and just being
Yeah.
like put off like this is so old, like I can't relate to this because it's just so dated.
I actually had a theory myself the other day, was when I was flipping through it over here in America. We've proven so many times as a country to be like weirdly prude about some things. I don't know if you've heard of any of like all the book banning that's been going on over here.
Yeah, I've heard those things.
I can see why, if their children are afraid to just be caught reading something like with like how they used to transform.
That's true. That's true. Because I mean, they got censored in some countries, and I think even the yen press issues, did they not get censored a little bit from the?
No. The original time they came to the US, they were censored.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, like they had covered stuff up
Yeah,
more and took stuff out. But then the Yen Press one had it not as censored.
because I've seen that like some versions had like certain panels removed. I think we got them just the way that they always were in the UK, but maybe we're. I mean, it's not as if we're not a prudish country when we want to be, but maybe just not quite as bad.
If they had continued it from like the main comics, like some people are wanting, that would have put everybody in like, oh gosh. I mean, I guess if it ramped up in 2012, then it would have been starting like, hey, we're starting in 2013 or something, or I don't know.
The OG comics, in my opinion at least, the latter arcs weren't as good, and I don't really know. I suppose obviously if they had different writers, maybe it could get better, but I'm not entirely sure I would want them to pick it up again from where it left off, because they kind of, it didn't really feel like it was going anywhere at the time, and I'm not sure you could really make it go anywhere now. I think maybe you know, taking it back and looking at it from a new perspective and seeing what else you can do with the characters might be the better option. I know
Mhm.
not a lot of people probably agree, but that's my opinion anyway. This
Yeah.
franchise just suffers so many times because we had a show and then they cancelled it, and they had a manga that they cancelled after 2 books, and we were getting the reprints and then they cancelled it like 3 books from the end, and I'm like, if we get a new thing and we enjoy it and then they take that away too, I give up. Why is this franchise cursed?
Right? I'm just like, I want to be able to trust it wholeheartedly.
No, I just want my witch content. Stop
That's
taking it
probably
from
why we
me.
make more, because we're like, we want more.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of why this fandom has endured is a lot because maybe because we feel wronged by the fact that they kept taking us from us. Like we have to keep making our own content and make our own discussions and create stuff because no one else is going to do it. So then every time that they have done it, it gets taken away. So we have to do it ourselves. I've been trying to write more of the TV series literally since it ended when I was like what, like 11 years old or something. Like I just sat around like, how could we have done it? What could have happened next? And I'm like, I feel like at this point it's like I need to create it because I'm still so annoyed that I never got to see what happened next. So I need to do it for myself. I need to
Right?
make more because
Right,
I need to know
definitely.
what happens next.
I know, I still wonder where it would have been going.
I know. I'll always be sad. My biggest sadness. I just
Right.
wanted more of the show.
I know. It just didn't come back the next year. The thing I remember
I
was like,
know.
just never came back.
I know. I remember being a kid and I just kept like going on the Wikipedia, like hoping it would get updated and it would say like season 3 is going to be coming out blah time, and it never did. And it just got further and further away. And I'm like, it's now like 2010. I'm like, I think we're maybe pushing it. I don't think it's going to come back.
Right? I mean, little did I know. So I didn't know that it was still going on, and like at least the comic, I didn't know it was still going on in Europe. Like we stopped at arc 2, and I was like, oh, well, they just
That's
didn't make
wild.
anymore.
That's crazy. I don't actually know if we got any further than that when I think about it, because we got it in like these BBC magazines, which were questionable. But if I remember right, I think it stopped here at the first issue of Arc 3 for some reason.
Ah,
Like they went into Arc 3 and then stopped. So I don't actually know if we get any further than that either.
yeah. So you pretty much like we're
It's
stuck
crazy
at
to
the same
think.
point I was.
Yeah, it's so weird that it just stopped so soon. Because I mean, especially I know even though like America got to make the show, I know it wasn't quite as big in the US as it was in Europe. It was pretty big here in the UK, but even then, it didn't seem to keep it alive,
Yeah.
which is a real shame. Like, I mean, I remember at the time, like there was witch stuff in the shops, and you could buy the DVDs and you could buy the dolls, and it was on the TV. It was on the BBC, that's our main broadcaster.
Yeah.
So getting on the BBC is a pretty big deal, and even that didn't seem to keep it around here.
Yeah.
It
I
just
hope that
dwindled.
they didn't base it off of American ratings. Because, I mean, I know that they, like, maybe, I don't know if they produced it for this audience or not, but like, I know there wasn't a lot of people watching it over here, sadly. And I'm hoping that's not what they based off whether or not they should continue, but they probably did. So I'm sure it did really well over across the sea.
I'm not sure. Because, I mean, I don't know why they stopped publishing it here. The thing is, I don't think we even got the comics until the show came out. I think they
Oh, wow.
I think they coincided, and I don't know why. Because my very first issue, I'm pretty sure is dated from March 2005. So that was like when it
Oh,
first
wow.
came out in comic form in the UK, which is obviously 4 years later than it came out properly. And the TV show was already out by then, and the magazines would always have on it like as seen on TV, and it would have a thing inside telling you like when the next episode was going to be on the TV. It would have like
Ah,
because they were monthly, so it would have the dates for like each episode coming out inside it. So I don't think it actually like it seemed as if over here they only brought out the comics to sort of to boost this TV show. Maybe
oh, maybe.
it felt more like the magazines was a tie-in to the show rather than them being like separate. Like they brought out the magazine to try and tie in with the show airing rather than it just being its own thing.
Oh, okay. I think we had it for at least a year, or maybe even just a few months before the show came out. And the books didn't, because it was just in book form. It didn't have like any advertisements or anything. So I don't remember. I only heard about the TV show happening because someone at school was also reading it, and they're like, "Did you know there's going to be a TV show?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And that's the only way I knew was like just the small commercials here and there, and someone telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember how I discovered the show. I think I just knew. I think just because it was on CBBC and I watched a lot of CBBC, so I was just aware that it was on there. Because originally I was like, I'm not going to watch the show because I'm a comic book fan, and I don't want to watch the show 'cause I don't want to support it because it's different.
Yeah.
Which is the funniest thing in the world to me now because I'm more of a show fan than a comic fan, and I don't know what I was doing. I don't know why I was going on like that, like gatekeeping the comics, but I gave in eventually because the theme tune was a bop. And
Yeah.
it's just like, I'm going to watch this show because the theme tune's a bop. Um, but like the first issue I got came with a different magazine. It was just this like normal preteen girl magazine. And like the actual magazines were full of just junk, like Zac Efron and like fashion tips and just your normal teen girl magazine. Then there was a random comic stuck in the middle. And I don't really feel like they knew what they were doing with it.
No.
I mean, they would try and tie it back. It'd be like Will's fashion tips and then a bunch of outfits that you would never see Will dead in.
Yep.
Or like,
Right.
hey, Lynn teaches you how to sew patches onto your jeans. It was bizarre. They were the weirdest magazine.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, kind of looking back, maybe they didn't sell well because the magazines were kind of trash.
Yeah, it's all the extra stuff. For us, I guess we first got the chapter books. Like those came before the comics at all.
Hmm.
Like the because I read an article about it recently. They were like, "Oh yeah, American girls will love to read chapter books." And it's like that's because that's all you've given us. Give us the other stuff. Because
That's true.
they're so much better.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm intrigued. Hang on, let me check. I want to know now when the chapter book actually got published. It's on my shelf. Never occurred to me to look.
Yeah. Because I think at least in America the chapter books came slightly before everything else for us.
First published in the USA in 2004, first published in Great Britain in 2005. So yeah, it would have came out around the same time as the magazines and the show. So everything just came out together here for some reason.
Yeah.
So £4. It only cost £4 to
Yeah.
buy the book.
All right.
Wow, that's so cheap.
So good. So much better than the yen press like over here $15, which I'm
Yeah,
not.
they're usually like £10 here or like 12. The pricing's really odd. The pricing doesn't match for each book. It's always slightly different.
Yeah.
They're not, I mean, they're not too bad. I feel like even if this came out today, I feel like this would probably cost like at least £8 or
Mm,
something. I think 2005 was pre-credit crunch. We all had money then.
yeah.
Things didn't cost as much.
Exactly. Oh, I know. I try to stay off of eBay because I have to control what I'm buying. I can help it. If I see witch merch, I'm like, oh, I need it.
I'm addicted. Like I've been doing that like ever since I got my own bank card. I've been on eBay just typing in which on a like weekly basis, and I'm like, you need to stop doing this. And I've gotten to the point I think to myself, I'm like, do you actually need this? What are you trying to prove? You don't need to own every bit of witch merch to prove that
Right.
you're a fan. You can just not buy the thing. You don't
Right.
need it. I spent something ridiculous like £50
Oh.
on buying old magazines. And in a way it was because it was because I was mad at myself for not buying the magazines when they were out.
Oh.
I actually have two magazines from when they were out here in the UK. And I felt like that was me. I was like, I spend this money and it's gonna heal something in my soul. But now I'm like, don't buy any more. You don't actually need all this stuff.
There's some wish things I bought that I'm like, why did I even get this? I don't
I
know.
know. I know, especially when it's just like random merch. Like I've got like right behind me here, I've got this purse. It's
Yeah.
got the girls on it, and it just hangs on my bookcase. I've never used it. I've got a Will purse that I've never used. I've got a clock. I don't know why. I just kept back. I've got a photo album that I've never put any photos in because we don't print photos anymore, so it just sits there.
I just got one too.
Why did I buy all this stuff?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
just
need
got
any
one.
of it.
I got a lunchbox too, and I'm like, I could get away with having this lunchbox, but also just like it would look weird for me to be using this lunchbox. you know?
Nah, I think you should use it. I love a lunchbox. When people are selling like copies of the comics from like other countries, I'm like, I could get it. I'm like, why? You can't even read it. You don't speak that language. Stop buying things. Because I kind of stopped. Like I didn't. I've only got the first six Yen Press copies, and I have for years keep going like, oh, like maybe at my next birthday someone will give me money and I'll buy more. And also I don't like Arc 3, so I think that keeps preventing me buying more because I'm like, I don't want to spend money in that arc because I don't like it.
Yeah. And it's not even
How many? I mean,
finished.
I've got so many copies at this point of like the first arc because I've
Yep.
got them in magazine form, I've got them in chapter book form, I've got the Yen Press copies. And I'm like, why do I have multiple copies of the same story?
Yep. I have the first
Keep
book like
buying them.
6 ways.
Yeah. I'm like, why? Why have I done that?
Well, I was fooled by the art edition ones where
Oh yeah, I saw them recently and I didn't even know what that was.
no, so it's I thought it was gonna be like the whole first arc redrawn in like a new
Mhm.
style, but it's not. It's just the cover's a new style, and then the first 2 pages, the artist like did a couple fun drawings and was like, "Look at these," and then the rest of it's just the same.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them until I was like on the Italian Amazon to like buy the reboot, and then I was suddenly like, oh, I bet there's a whole bunch of stuff on here that I've never seen before. So then I just started going through, and then I'm like, no, stop looking, because you're going to start buying all this stuff in Italian that you don't need.
Right?
I was looking at those 20th anniversary tomes, and I'm like, oh, so pretty. And then I'm like, no, you don't need more copies of Arc One. You've already got multiple. I'm like, but so pretty though.
Yeah, right.
Would look so nice on the shelf though.
Yeah, I bought one. I think that's how I figured out I could ship from Italy, was I bought one of those. And I remember just like it's the whole same comic like normal, but and there's only just like some inserts of people like why they love Witch. And I'm like, "Oh, this is great," but it's like also just the first book. I thought it was going to be more of like, "Oh, this is like a big 20th anniversary celebration," but it was just the first book.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. I'm like, you don't need it. You don't need it just because it's got a nice hardcover. You don't need to.
Yeah, right.
But there's just so little stuff from the show. There's so little merch that's specifically show related. I'm like, I would sell my house.
Oh yeah. Like at some point, so there's I'm trying to make my own merch to fill the void in my heart. But
Of
like
course.
yeah, so I there's a couple board games I've played and I was like, "Ooh, these would be cool if these were like witch themed board games." So I'm trying to figure out how to like actually make a version of them that someone could just like maybe tape over the original board game and just it's like witch skin pretty much. So I'm
It's weird that we
figuring
never
that out.
got a board game of all things.
I
We
think
never
there's one
got that
out
because
there.
is there?
Yeah, someone like
It's like
Witch
something they
Boy.
would do.
Yeah. I think Witch Boy on Instagram posted one at one point.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
See, now I'm gonna need to try that then.
Yeah.
Because I have jigsaws, because I love jigsaws. I'm a jigsaw fiend. So when I see jigsaws, I must buy jigsaws.
Oh, yep.
And I saw them in an actual, that was a crazy thing, is I got them in an actual shop. Like I
Oh,
was out
wow.
shopping with my dad one day in this like weird store that sells like just the strangest stuff. And it happened, I was like in it, and there was just a pile of witch jigsaws up the back of the shop. And I was just standing there like, and then I just
Nice.
like whole every one of them into the basket, to the tills.
Oh, yep.
Give me these, please.
Nice. Yeah, anytime I go to a used
Couldn't believe it.
bookstore, I look for Witch.
Yeah, I know, me too. Like, I'm always like that. Anytime I'm in like a charity shop or something, I go to the kids section just to see if there's anything witch related. And very rarely, I managed to get one of the like original graphic novels, like the old ones
Hmm.
that they had in a shop, in a used bookshop. But I don't usually come across witch, but I always look just in case.
Right? I know. I always go to the W or now D for Disney.